Scott just made the point.
Jefferson used to be a lot more secure, not just.
If corporations are people, can they feed the poor in Africa and save the world? I'm PJTV's Scott Ott, joined now by Bill Whittle and Stephen Green for part 2 of our 3-part trifecta, Compassion versus Capitalism, or Let the World Feed Itself. In part 1, we introduced you to the Boomtown Rats lead singer who started a charity that raised hundreds of millions of dollars to fight famine in Africa. That was 30 years ago. Today, Bob Geldof runs a private equity firm that has raised hundreds of millions of dollars in investment capital, hoping to profit off Ethiopian businesses. During an interview with the Wall Street Journal, reporter Simon Clark seems stunned at Geldof's transition, which the Journal credits with leading an historic shift from aid to investment in Africa. Geldof then spotlights the evil PE guys, you know, the ones who value a company by the ratio of share price to annual earnings per share.
You know, the PE guys, I mean, of course, you know, they want returns, but it doesn't mean that they have to be rapacious. And, you know, frankly, most aren't. Rapacity isn't very good for returns.
Rapacity isn't very good for returns. Bill Whittle, when Mitt Romney said corporations are people, he was roundly mocked. Now a pop star is saying much the same thing and implying that to become profitable, one must also treat people well. Bill, what can men do against such reckless hate?
Rephrase the debate for one thing, Scotty. I mean, obviously, you've got a provocative title. It really should be, you know, compassionism versus socialism, or compassion versus collectivism, or anything else, because capitalism, capitalism is a term that I've understood. A term was used as a pejorative. This idea that you've got to be a giant robber baron to pull this kind of thing off and go in there and rape the resources and kill all the workers and do all that other stuff so you can, you know, lie on your giant mounds of gold coins in your underground duck vault. You know, it's all a bunch of nonsense. It's ridiculous. First of all, let's talk about what's giving people a problem. Bob Geldof may make a profit on this. What does that mean? What is the definition of a profit? Profit is excess wealth after expenses have been recouped. So if Bob Geldof is going to make a penny, that means the people in Ethiopia are at least being paid for the work they did. They're probably going to make a penny too, but at the very least they're going to get paid for work that they didn't have before. And if they don't get any pay, if they don't make any profit, then Bob Geldof is out a bunch of money. This whole thing is absolutely ridiculous, Scotty. This is nothing, as I said, it's nothing but net good. What do you want from these people? Of course, rapaciousness is bad. You cannot take 100% of the profits. And look, Mitt Romney, bless his heart, was just absolutely, unbelievably awful when it came to getting these ideas across. You know, just awful. What was the quote you mentioned at the beginning of the question with Romney? What was it that he said?
Corporations are people.
Corporations are people. For example, Mitt, what you might want to say is, I'm not trying to suggest that a corporation has an immortal soul, but I am saying that McDonald's may have, or forget McDonald's, FedEx may have, what, 10,000 vehicles? Whose name are these vehicles going to be in? Are the vehicles going to be registered to the name of every single stockholder that has stock in FedEx? Of course they have to be functioned as a person. This car is owned by FedEx. That's all it means. No, it can't even do that. Listen, I get so lathered up about this because the only thing that actually works in the third world is this exact same sort of thing where you go in on the grassroots level, you kickstart the economy, and you don't send $400 million or $400 billion to some dictator so he can build an international airport in the middle of the jungle and a 4-lane highway that goes 6 miles and then just stops. This stuff actually works.
Well, Stephen Green, in the age of Obama, we're led to believe that corporations can help the poor, but only when government pries the profits out of their cold, greedy hands and gives it to the poor.
Thanks.
How are you, Steve, going to convince people of what Bob Geldof seems to have learned?
You know what? Think about that for just a second. What is the mindset that says that being the recipient of government charity is morally better, is a moral improvement over being an employee earning a paycheck? Can you imagine that mindset? What are we going to call that mindset? I have an idea. Let's call it Democrats. That's exactly what that is. It's better to receive a handout than it is to work for a living. That's exactly what that boils down to. That's just shameful. That's sick. It's wrong. Like, how do you convince them? Look at the evidence. Look at the world around you. The biggest explosion in human wealth and human happiness has happened whenever capitalism has taken root, and it works anywhere from tiny little Hong Kong to continental-sized United States of America. It's not like socialism, communism, collectivism, all of these various isms that always needs to conquer, that always needs to add on because they have run out of their own money, then they run out of other people's money. Capitalism keeps making more and more and spreading those benefits wider and wider. It's a beautiful thing. We win this argument every time we have it. And Bill's right. Mitt Romney lost the argument because he wouldn't even engage it.
Well, you know, when I worked for a major corporation, and I haven't done that very often, but when I did, they had a program to help inner city children learn to read. And it was expected that all of us in the office would sign up. The company also raised money for the United Way, and it was expected that we would all give. Now, I enjoyed doing both, but I couldn't help but think that the company's charity efforts were just part of its overall marketing. And it bothered me that we sold ourselves as a caring community partner when in fact most of us felt compelled to participate. Wouldn't it have been better if the company had devoted itself to, oh, I don't know, let's say providing an excellent service at a fair price and then allowed the employees to give at their own discretion in any way they chose? Love must be voluntary to be genuine. Corporations are groups of people who perform their services with excellence and passion and who give from the overflow of their joy voluntarily. For Bill Whittle, Stephen Green, and the entire Trifecta crew at PJTV.com, I'm Scott Ott.